Okay, so moving on to a technology that I'm sure we've all heard of, if not used or experienced at some point. So introducing Dharmesh from Zoom Events.
Hi there. So yeah, I'm going to give you a walkthrough of Zoom Events today. Zoom Events is our all-in-one platform that incorporates Zoom webinar and Zoom meeting. So just to give you that overview, I'm sure as Ian mentioned, you're familiar with Zoom. Zoom meeting, your standard everyday conference that you use to collaborate, often used in some sort of workflow for your virtual and hybrid events. Then we have Zoom webinar. So this is our bigger seminar room. Very, very popular. About 30% of all webinars are Zoom webinars. So that's kind of, I see that as our kind of Converse trainers, our Coca-Cola. It's going to stay the same. Essentially, it's a big room with great quality video and great quality sound. But event professionals, marketing professionals came to us during the pandemic and said they wanted more, to do more with Zoom webinar and Zoom meetings for their events. So we've launched 2 new products. So on the right, we've got Zoom Events. So essentially what Zoom Events is going to do is it's going to give you that wrapper around webinars and meetings to create multi-day, multi-session events that are only going to have one registration. So you can have dozens of webinars, dozens of meetings. It's just going to be that one registration, and we can talk a bit more about that. And then we've also launched a product called Zoom Sessions. And what Zoom Sessions is essentially Zoom webinars on steroids. So it's going to be all of the pro features that maybe some of the other longer standing webinar platforms have had, but they haven't had Zoom's video, Zoom sound, and the kind of reach across the world. So we're talking production studio features, lead generation features, engagement tracking. So to kind of bring that to life a little bit in terms of Zoom Events, we're talking about, say you've got a one-day event, you might have multiple sessions in there. So Zoom Events, we're saying we're opening up with the day 1 keynote, and you might want to use a webinar for that piece. You want everyone's cameras and microphones to be off. But then after that keynote, it's going to break out into more collaborative sessions where meetings are going to be more appropriate. So you're going to have a couple of meetings, you're going to have maybe a couple of tracks, a technology track and a creative track, so people can break out. Then people are going to have their lunch and they might want to do some kind of networking, and we can talk a bit about what people can do in that area, and then they'll come back together for a keynote, and then we might break out into some more meeting sessions. So you can create as many Zoom meetings and webinars as you like within the Zoom Events platform. We've got Zoom Event services, so if it is a high-risk event and you just want someone from Zoom with you all day, that's absolutely fine. We've got a global team. We've got our kind of integrations and API, so you can use it in association with another event app like Swoogo, or if you have a fully virtual event and you're collecting leads, maybe Marketo, Eloqua, Salesforce. And then there might be something on the Zoom app marketplace that enhances those individual sessions, like Pigeonhole. So let's have a look at some of those individual sessions, those individual webinars, and look at those kind of session upgrades that we're talking about. So a huge one has been Backstage. So what Backstage does is it's about really looking after your speakers. So a normal Zoom webinar, you kind of had, the webinar has a practice session, you have that chance to practice with people, start the webinar, and that practice is over. What we're doing now is we're giving you kind of a permanent green room area. So for instance, if you have an amazing speaker but they can only come half an hour into your session, you can say that's fine. Come 5 minutes early or 2 minutes early, come backstage. We can control your sound, check your background, check your audio, add a name tag. When they're ready, push them forward into the webinar live. They do their bit, and then you can bring them back at the end, thank them, send them on their way. And also you can use it as a debrief session. So in the old webinar, when you end a webinar, you end it for everyone, which is a bit brutal when someone's just given an amazing keynote. So what we can do is we can end that webinar just for your attendees and keep all of your Q&A team, your speakers, your panelists, your co-hosts, debrief them on the same call, and then end the call completely. Another nice piece is Simulive, and this can be really, really useful if you are doing a multi-day, multi-session event. Because if you said, right, we're going to do 60 sessions over 5 days, that's a lot of resource over 5 days. So maybe you want to look at doing 3/4 or a half of those as semi-live, where you pre-record just as you normally record a Zoom call, and then you can schedule those to run later. You can still have a level of interactivity on those sessions, so you can run a poll live, even though the speakers aren't there. You can run Q&A live, and we can also do something called resources. And what resources does is about that ROI challenge. So if you do have a challenge to say, what do I want to achieve at the end of this speaking session? It might be to sign up to the live event. It might be to download a white paper or meet with someone. What you can do is this resource button here is permanent. People can click on that and see the speakers. They can download documents, but you can also highlight a call to action. So 45 minutes in, you could say if you want to sign up for our live event, we could say sign up to the live event here, and then that sidebar will open up. People can click on that, and that will give you some dedicated area for you to put your Calendly link, for instance. And then finally, on those single sessions, production quality. Right now, we're really lucky we've got an AV team on site that can mix the AV, but if you haven't got that budget or you can't scale that to the whole event, what we can do is create a built-in production studio within your individual webinar sessions. So you can break out the individual speakers as ISO feeds and turn them into scenes. So right now we've got scene 1 with 3 people, another collection, another layout for scene 2, just a screen share for scene 1, and then back to an audience. We can play around with the backgrounds and we can play around with the borders. So we've given you lots and lots of design control throughout your event. Another piece is branding. So if you're familiar with a Zoom webinar, super simple, but very simple branding. So we can add your own logos, we can give a lot of love to your speakers, give them nice bios that are clickable, we can change the buttons, and all of these kind of features, it's all code free. It's all just choosing colors, uploading pictures. The same with our emails. So we can customize those, customize the colors, customize the design, and just make your emails more engaging. So let's look at, that was kind of the individual sessions and reaching out to people. Let's look at what we've added in addition to those Zoom sessions. We've added an expo area, so you can scale out in between your speaking sessions, expo areas where people can wander around and they can use Zoom to have an ad hoc conversation. So they can wander in a booth, they can click on resources if they just want to click on resources, they can have a chat, a text chat with one of the people running the booth, they can jump into a Zoom call and have a live call, and you can stream that live call out into here. So some people might be, I want a live demo, so other people might just want to watch at the rail. Another thing you can do is you can see who else is around at the lunch break looking around, and it might be a colleague. If it's internal communications, you might see someone you haven't spoken to in a while, you know they're not in a speaking session, so you can just DM them and talk to them. We've also got networking. So networking's built in so people can build their profiles. You can like their profiles, so just give someone a bit of attention and spark off a conversation there. You can DM them and start a direct conversation, or you can do a business card swap. And if they accept that, you'll have each other's contact details for after the event. And finally, we've just launched our hybrid app. So you can now run Zoom events completely remote, so you can do a complete physical event, but I think where it really comes into its own is that idea of a hybrid app. So you can walk into a live event and sit down in a session, scan in using a virtual badge using the Zoom app, download the slides, see who's speaking. You can also click on the tab that says people and see who's there, swap business cards, you can see who's there and chat. You can access recordings online, and you can interact with a hybrid event. So people at home can do a poll, people at home can do Q&A, so can the people sitting down. So you can interact and do those questions if you're in person and if you're remote. And all of this is built into the Zoom app. It's not like an extras kind of system. So I've got a few minutes now. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to show you what a Zoom event would look like fully built out. So this is kind of a very built out customized registration page, so you can have your own logo at the top, choose your colors for your buttons. When I click register, that's going to go through all the registration questions as normal. This one's got multiple speakers, so each speaker is going to have its own branding, its own speaker branding. I've marked those virtual, you can mark them physical. And we've got our speakers, so I've got my headline speakers here. We can show lots of love to our speakers, we can give them a full bio and list out there. And then finally, once you're in the event, we've got a lobby. So the main speaking session of the time comes streamed out live, but we've got the full list of our featured sessions. These are on demand, but when they go live, you'd click watch now and it would open up a Zoom, whether it's a meeting or a webinar. We've got a constant chat that's going to unite everyone. We've got our exhibitors page for sponsors. We've got our speakers page, and we've got our people, and we've got a video library as well. One final thing, and if you're using Zoom right now, what's missing is you're not getting all the stats on one page. So what we're going to be able to do is every speaking session, whether it's a meeting, whether it's a webinar, you're going to be able to understand how long that person was on there, whether they asked a Q&A, whether they asked a poll question, and you're also going to get those high-level stats for stakeholders. What was the conversion? How many people turned up? How many people built a profile? That kind of thing. So we can tie that up and download that as CSVs. So thanks very much for your time. I'll pause now for questions, but my booth is literally behind there, so you can pop there if you want to have a chat.
Yeah, thanks, Dharmesh. Well done with the timing. We've actually got 3 minutes left. So has anyone got any quick questions for Dharmesh before we move on to the next one? Okay, well, as Dharmesh said, you can find him just behind us here at the Zoom Events booth.
Thanks
Thank
very
you.
much. Cheers.